make a start. And thank you for joining us. Now, some of you attended the tender session this morning. There will be some slides in here that are similar to that, and some double up. Reason being is that applying, finding grants and applying for grants is very much similar to a tender process, in the sense that, with tenders you're looking to win work. With grants, you're looking to receive grants and assistance, but you've still got to convince someone to give you that grant or assistance. So the processes are very similar. Some with grants, so some grants are available all year round. Others are timed, have a closing date and time similar to a tender. So the process that you would go through would be very similar. But I do have a lot of other information, and we'll talk specifically how to frame your grant application and the like. So let's make a start. If you've got any questions, fire away, and I'll answer as we go. Just put them in the chat or the Q&A box. I will open the microphone again at the end. And you will receive a copy of this presentation later on today, and also a copy of the recording will be available from Business Station website later next week. So a bit about me. Likewise with tenders, I've also sat on selection panels to award grants. So I'm bringing that practical experience. So again, I'll be talking about going through how to frame your grant application submission from the context of someone that's sat on selection panels. So Business Station, take advantage of other Business Station services as well, and other advisors in social media and the like. So there's a whole range of support that we can provide you. I've been an advisor since 2014. The AusBaz Digital Solutions. So let's look at what we're going to have a talk about today. So we're going to look at why government provides grants and assistance. There's a strategic reason it does that, and we're going to look at that, because understanding why government provides grants and assistance will assist you in understanding how you need to address your application and the sort of response you should provide. We're going to look at where to find grants and assistance. I've got a number of websites there. But I'm going to do an exercise through one of them on how we can find grants. Deciding to submit a grant application. So similar to a tender, you're still going to go through the process of reviewing the documentation and making sure that it's the right grant for you. We'll look at preparing the grant application, writing it, and finalising the application. So that you'll see a lot of similarities with tenders, but differences as well. I'm going to touch on management systems again, so you will see the same slides for those that have, because again, just like a tender, in the case of giving you funding, what they're looking for in the case of grant funding is the suitability or the value of your proposal that you're seeking grants for, and then so they're going to assess that. But then they're also going to assess your capacity as a business to be able to deliver that as well. So just like a tender, you still need to demonstrate your organisational capacity to deliver the project that you're seeking funding from. And not only that, but also to prudently manage the money that they are giving you. So let's make a start. So why does government provide grants and assistance? And I talk here grants and assistance. So grants is a financial component, but there's a lot of assistance out there for business as well that's also funded by government or other bodies that you can tap into. And we're looking at grants and assistance at all levels, so federal government, state government, and local government as well, which people don't often associate local government with supporting business, but it's becoming increasingly important, certainly in WA, and I know in councils in Queensland, they have economic development teams designed to support our local business. So we'll look at that as well. So why does government provide grants? Well, it's to assist business owners, investors set up and run their business with the aim of achieving three things, really: thriving economy, reducing unemployment, and making stronger communities. So small business, the backbone of the economy, where most people are employed, it's critical to having a thriving national, state, local economy. In doing so, by having viable businesses, growing businesses, it's going to create employment. Therefore, it's going to reduce unemployment across the country and making communities stronger. So those businesses that are growing, that are well managed and the like, that they're going to be in a position to contribute to the community through sponsorships and donations and that. They're going to buy goods and services from other businesses within that community. They're going to employ people. So, it just makes the whole, local community stronger by having thriving businesses. So, and grants and assistance the government provides is designed to achieve those three things. And when you're submitting your grant application, you need to demonstrate that what you're proposing to do is going to contribute to a thriving economy, reduce unemployment, and make the community in which you operate stronger. It could also be to carry out the functions that government needs to make the economy function well. So, example is Business Station. We're funded by a government grant to deliver the Australian Small Business Advisory Service. So if it wasn't us doing it, it'd be public servants and the government providing it. So they've given Business Station a grant to provide these services. And you taking advantage of my webinars and other support of Business Station is an example of the assistance the government is providing to business in addition to grant funding. So I've seen a hand going up the screen, so I don't know whether that's me or someone, but if you've got a question, just type it in the chat box or the Q&A box. So carry out, so to do the work that government would otherwise have to do itself. So types of projects that are funded. Projects that will affect or involve as many people as possible. So it needs to be a broad project. It can be a small project, but the reach of its effect needs to be quite broad and needs to have strong and dedicated backing and a high likelihood of success. So when I say strong and dedicated backing, you might have the support of other investors. You might have this, demonstrated support from key people within the community, or demonstrated support within the organisation through you putting up your own investment as well. You're going to find most of the grants that are available are dollar for dollar, which means that they will, basically put up a component of the funding and you need to match that with your own funding as well. But we'll talk about that. So, and you need to demonstrate that the project is likely to succeed. I mean, they're not going to back projects that seem a bit, don't stack up, financially or whatever. So you need to develop a good business case and also a business plan as well. So broad appeal and support, provide a long-term solution that will make a difference, achieve those three dot points earlier. Or it could be something new or visionary that is being held back only because of a lack of funds. So there mightn't be, it might be some new, product or service that the market's not ready to accept, but you're able to demonstrate that it does have legs. So you may be able to get some funding to help you with that. Types of businesses that are funded, well, in terms of government, you've got to have an ABN, must operate in the state providing the grant. have proper proof of intended concept and ownership over the right to that product and service. So, I mean, there's a lot of grants out there for not-for-profit organisations through, lotteries and other support. These are specifically targeting business funding, so you've got to be a for-profit business with an ABN, company or partnership or whatever. You can demonstrate a potential customer base or channel to conduct the business or the project. You've got to spend the percentage of the estimated cost in the state providing the grant. So when you're putting you've got to go out and get quotes from other businesses to do your work, then you've got to demonstrate that you're using businesses from within the location that you're located, and have proof of matched funding. So if you're seeking $20,000 grant, then you've got to have $20,000 available to you as well. So, and all this this information you would include in your business proposal. So the types of assistance that's available. So as I said, there's grants, which is the dollar cash component. So it's mostly matched funding. So you may have to put up your own funding as well. Rebates and subsidies, tax incentives and the like. Research, training and development, advisory and mentoring services like the Business Station programs that we run, or low-cost interest loans. So, as I said, it's not just the grants, but there's also a lot of other assistance out there for you as well that you can tap into. So where to find grants and assistance? Well, I'm going to go through an exercise here. I'll just run through some websites. So grants and programs, we're going to go through that website shortly. Grant Connect, federal government grants. Then we've got Self-Start, which is for people that are sort of moving from employment into running their own business. COVID assistance packages, they're mostly being wound down, but there may still be, well, we don't know what the future holds, but there may be some assistance still out there. Research and incentives, research and development, venture capital, partnerships, export market development grants. So if you're looking to export your product or service overseas, you can get funding of up to 50% of the marketing costs overseas. And then landing pads are another one where they provide, depending on which country, but they're starting to launch some services in various countries where you might have access to office space and the like to get you up and running and ready to go. So have a look at that. State government, WA, there's a website on grants and assistance. And Queensland and Northern Territory as well. And also look at your local government, the council where you're operating, because they, and I know over in WA here, and I know in Queensland and other states, there is a lot of work being done by local councils to support their local business. For example, some of the councils over here have networking events for their local business community. They can provide grants. I'm based in the town of Victoria Park in Perth. It's an inner city council. I recently, well, back in January, I was awarded a grant of $10,000 to do some work for the council, which we've just recently completed. So I got a grant from business, a business grant from the council. Business advisory services. Some councils have their own services, and I know one council in Perth here has an arrangement with Business Station to provide services for businesses based in its local government area, and I provide those for them. Newsletters, business awards. They're always good to try and win. The town of Victoria Park has their business awards coming up and I submitted my application on Monday for an award. So they've got a function coming up in November. And then providing access to useful data about the suburbs and the markets where your business is located that may be of use in, looking at demographic figures and the like. So look at you build that relationship with your council, get on the phone and have a chat, ask for their economic development person and see what support the local council can give you, and subscribe to any newsletters that they may have. And then other organisations, banks, private companies. I did some support work with Crown Casino a few years ago, running some tender workshops, how to find and write tenders, but also how to prepare tenders for Crown. And that was aimed at their suppliers, who the Crown were looking to build, improve the capacity of their suppliers and prospective suppliers to tender for work. So there was an example of some assistance that companies could provide their supplier network. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go back and find some grants. So I'm just going to share this website with you. So you should be able to see a screen that says Grants and Programs Finder. Can we all do that? If I can just, if you just type in the chat box what type of business you are, and I'll pick one. So obviously I'm in the consulting business, so professional and technical, but what types of businesses do we have here? So can you see the screen? All right, so we've got organic pesticide and we've got health and fitness. Yeah. All right. All right. Well, let's do. You can run. So what I'd suggest you do is if you just go and grab that, put that website in your own browser, and just follow me as I go along for your own business. Organic pesticide came up first, so I haven't. I've done some work for pest control companies. So if we just go and click on, you can see there at the moment, if you just scroll down a bit, you can see there's currently 544 grants and programs that are available across state and federal government. So if you just click on the button that says Start Now, so plug in the state that you are. So I'm in, well, I'll do myself and you do your own business. So I'm in WA. I don't want regional or rural opportunities because I'm Perth-based. So I'm going to click on Next. The industry that I'm in, well, I'm a consultant, so professional, scientific and technical services. But you plug in the business that you are. So I want to exclude grants for all industries. So I'm only interested in mine. So you can see there 43 grants so far. Click on Next over on the right there. Business structure, well, I'm a company. Click on next. So what am I interested in? Well, I want funding. I want advice and mentoring. I want and tax benefits. We all want tax benefits. So I'll click on that. You can come back and do different searches for different things later on, but I'll just put in that. So then we click on next. So I'm looking for assistance with, what do I want to do? So digital and online. Might want to employ people. Marketing and advertising. Operational costs will be good, although there's apart from the COVID grants that come out, there's not a lot of funding out there to help with paying your rent and your day-to-day costs. Selling to government, so I'll leave it at that. I might put training and skills. So then I click on next. Where am I in my business? Well, I'm more than 5 years. I've been going since 2014. Click on next. Now I want to see grants and programs that are currently open. I'm going to click on all of them because even though the grants are closed, they might become available next year. And the thing that I want to point out to you is that there might be grants that are available to you now, but there might be grants that you're not eligible for now, but you might be eligible for in 12 months' time or 2 years' time. So this program, and I'd encourage you to sort of diarise to go and have a look at this website every few months, because there are some grants that are open all year round, others that are coming up or only open for a period of time. But think strategically and say, okay, well, I'm not eligible for that grant now, but if I achieve certain milestones in my business, I might be eligible for it in 12 months' time. So it's a good business development exercise, and as part of your business plan, to identify all the grants that you may become eligible for, and then when you do get to that point, then you can apply for a grant. So think of your immediate needs, but also your future needs as well. So after going through all that, I mean, I've only come up with 4 grants and programs. You may have come up with more. So the next stage is really a process of elimination. I can see there funding for businesses working with location-based information, funding for Indigenous owned, well, I'm not one of those, women in STEM and entrepreneurship, round 4, grants to produce and funding to establish artificial intelligence and digital capability centres. So, really there's nothing there that's suitable for me at a state or federal level. So that's the key. This is for federal government grants and state government grants. In my case, there's nothing here available for me at this point in time, but who knows what might come up next month. So I'll do another search next month. But as I said, I was able to tap into the Town of Victoria Park Business Grants Program and got a $10,000 grant. So you can see, this website is very useful in terms of finding grants and assistance, and importantly, it's free to access. So I'd be interested, just perhaps put in the chat box how many grants you came up with for your business search. And as I said, you can go and do other searches later on, but it's a useful website. So I'll go back and put the presentation back up, and we'll continue. So how many grants did you individually come up with as a business? I found 4. I mean, I've had businesses that have found more when I've gone through this exercise. But so when you get a chance, as I said, I'll send this document to you later on today. and you've got, you can go through those sites and find something that's of use for you. But importantly, don't forget about your local council, because, in the first instance, depending on the size of your business, your local council might have some grants that would be easier for you to access than federal or state government grants. And that $10,000 grant that I got from my council, I didn't have to match that with other funding as well. So it wasn't part of it. I just got a straight $10,000 grant to deliver some work for them. Okay, Goran, that's good. So, you might have found, when I've sat down with other clients, there's been 30 grants come up. The process really then is a process of elimination. So we'll go through that process now. So really what we need to do is, deciding to submit a grant application. You've found, 20 grants going through that exercise. It's really just now a process of elimination to go through each of those grants and look at the eligibility requirements to see whether you meet that. And then if you're satisfied that you meet the eligibility criteria, then go and download all the documentation that applies to it. So we need to look at the guidelines, the process requirements, and the application forms. So similar to a tender, there's going to be rules around the information you're to provide and how you're to provide it, and application forms. They could be just a form that you fill out on the internet and you include a range of attachments. That's really, depending on the type of grant that is, and obviously the dollar value of the grant. Supporting information, so terms and conditions, frequently asked questions, application tips. So look at any supporting information. Determine what the funding body is looking to achieve. What is their objective by providing this funding? Because you need to demonstrate to them that you can help them achieve their objective. Essentially, government have problems that it wants to solve. The problem of unemployment, or the problem of communities, losing population. They want to boost communities. You're trying to help government solve that problem. That's essentially what, and they've made available funding to business to help solve those problems. So, and also look at what type of organisation the funding body is looking to fund. So this gets down to the eligibility criteria. Do you meet that requirement? So again, go through that, the information. If you're not sure of anything, ask questions. So seek clarification, similar to what we talked about in tenders. There are contact details there. You're perfectly entitled to ring them, and importantly, build the relationship with the funding body. Don't just download the application and send it off like cold, because you really want to get their advice on the application. You want to get some guidance and support from them. You want to be in a position where they know that you're going to submit an application and they've given you not necessarily approval, but an understanding that they're prepared to consider your application because you meet all the requirements. That's really what you want to get to. So it's no point just filling in an application and sending it off, because it'll just go into the basket with everything else. You want to build that relationship, seek their advice, get help with your application. I mean, they may even allow you to proofread it and do that for you, depending on the type of application. But they will help you with that, and it's important that you establish that relationship with them. So in terms of yourself, are you grant ready as well? Looking at the grant that you're looking at, do you meet all the requirements? Do you have sufficient, cash to be able to match the funding? Is it suitable with your business strategy? Do you actually have a business plan for the project that you're seeking funding for? They're all the questions that you need to ask yourself, and whether you've got the capacity to successfully deliver the project as well, and you've got the right business structure, the right personnel, the right management approach to do that. So go through and do that assessment of your own business and the project that you're looking to seek funding for, and importantly, document all that into a business plan, because depending on the dollar value, they're going to go through a lot of rigor before they and assessment and due diligence to make sure before they give you any funding. So a robust business plan that outlines the ins and outs of the whole project in your organisation will be critical in getting that funding. So again, those of you that attended the tender would have seen a similar slide in the sense that, you need to be satisfied, because getting a grant does come with an element of risks. So even the $10,000 grant that I had, when I put in an application, I had to fill out, put together a bit of a risk management plan. I had to identify what the risks were and how I would mitigate those. Because if the project had gone, pear-shaped and not worked, I would have had to have given that money back. So what is the effect of your business if you would have to give money back? And how are you going to manage that money? See, in my case, I set it in a separate bank account because I got the funding up front. But because there may have been, if certain aspects of it, things that we said we were going to do didn't happen, I may have had to pay a portion of it back. So I set the money aside in a separate bank account and just drew down on it when I needed to pay certain bills. So, you've got to be careful that it is the right grant for you. So, worst case is that you might have to give the funding back. Also, that will impact your ability to be able to get future funding, because you can apply for more than one grant, but the ability for you to be able to manage and successfully deliver a project that you've received grant funding for will impact your ability to get future grants. So that has an impact as well. So worst case is that you'll have to pay it back or a portion of it back, and it may impact your ability to get future grants. So risk management is an important element. So you need to be comfortable that you can manage that risk. And again, make that decision as soon as possible, because some grants, may be released for a certain period of time and have a closing date and time like a tender would. So in terms of preparing your application, so again, this idea of a project, you're going to need to bring different people. I mean, when I was putting together my grant application, I had to get quotes from other businesses because I needed to demonstrate that I was going to use other businesses. So I had to get that information to help inform my budget. I had to bring on some other people to help with that. So I had to get their CVs and the like. And then I had to put together my documentation. I had to include a capability statement. I had to include a budget, and I guess a business plan for the project that I was proposing. So you need to manage it. And in the case of that, grant, there was a closing date and time, so I had to, get it delivered by then. So likewise, gather all your information, because I had to provide all this as well. And they wanted me corporate details and details of insurance and some referees and the like. So likewise with tenders, set up a file for grants, because you might be applying for a federal government grant or a state or a local government. You can apply for different grants at the same time. And as I said, there might be grants that you're not eligible for now, but you might be eligible for in 12 months' time if your business achieves certain things. So yeah, gather all your information that you're going to need. And then put together your budget. So there needs to be a grant budget, because a lot of these grants are dollar for dollar. So the dollars that you're getting from the government is really, making up the shortfall of funding that you can get. So look at your direct costs for the grant. So what are the funds that you're asking for? Personnel costs, purchase of equipment, supplies, any in-kind contributions, indirect costs for grants or overheads such as lease costs. So organise your budget so it's easy to read and understood. So, if it's a $20,000 grant that you're chasing, well, the project is obviously going to be worth $40,000. You need to demonstrate where that $40,000 is made up of. And then you say, right, well, we're putting in 20,000, so that goes in the income line. And then, the other income is the grant that you're going to receive. So organise it, make it easy to read, and include explanatory notes. So every line item, you should have a note explaining why you've derived or how or why you've derived at that number. They may want you to include copies of quotes, so just be mindful of that as well. So again, when you get the documentation and go through all the instructions on what you're to provide and how you're to provide it, and the like. So writing the grant application. So you really, essentially, you're building your case for funding support. Why should I give you money when the budget is limited and I've got other people that want that funding as well? Why should I give that to you over somebody else? So build a relationship with the funding body. As I said, they will help you with your application and get to the point where they're prepared to accept an application from you. You need to provide a description of your organisation. So this is establishing your credibility and qualifications. So your business capacity. This is our project. This is the benefits of our project and how it will help the funding body solve their problem. And this is our business, and this is our demonstrated capacity to deliver that project. Outline what the short, long, medium, long-term benefits of the project are for your business. What's it going to do for your business if you get this grant funding? What's the benefit to the community? So creation of jobs and the like, and support regional communities if that's where you're based. And identify and demonstrate an awareness of the specific needs of the target group and or the community. So you need to understand what, the project that you're developing, how is it going to help the community and meet the needs of the target group. So produce evidence of that. So if you've got any up-to-date and accurate data or research, provide that as well. Again, you're using that information to build the case for support. And then you demonstrate that you can realistically achieve that project outcome. So demonstrate market support. So, any suppliers and businesses that you're going to be dealing with, get their support by way of a letter. Community leaders, members of parliament, let them know what you're doing, and get their support as well by way of a letter or some other means. You're telling a story. So it's a marketing exercise. You're telling the benefits, the story of the benefits of your project and the story of your capacity to deliver that project. Be bold and positive. So again, the marketing element of it, but avoid exaggerated claims and provide factual information, which goes without saying. I mean, depending on the dollar value of your of the grant that you're seeking will determine the amount of rigor and due diligence and risk assessment undertaken by the funding body on your proposal. So obviously, a $10,000 grant would not involve as much rigor as if I was going for a $1 million grant. So it all depends on the dollar value. Sorry, I just need to grab a glass of water. Well, it won't be a minute. Right, sorry about that. I didn't think I could talk as much. Right, so be mindful that there might be some due diligence undertaken on your proposal and your business plan and everything in your organisation before any grants are released. Match up. Now, this is important. Gets back to those 3 dot points that we had at the start. What is it that the funding body is trying to achieve? You need to align your project and your submission with demonstrating how the proposal will benefit the target group, benefit the funding body, so help it achieve its objectives. How does it fit in with their priorities? So you need to do your research on that. And I know some funding bodies, there's one called the Entrepreneurs Program, and I've seen some videos of recipients of that grant talking about how it benefited them and how they went about doing it, putting the application and all that sort of stuff. So have a look at their annual reports, their websites, the criteria for each of their grants. Get on the phone and have that discussion with them. So, be across all the details in order to, demonstrate that you can help them solve their problem. Show how your project, or define your project, and also outline how you're going to measure the success of the project, and align those measurements with the funding body's objectives as well. So clearly define the aims and objectives of your project, how you're going to achieve that, and how the program will be, the success of it will be measured. So, in tenders, we talked about win themes. So what's so special about your project? What's so special about your business? And particularly where, you've got the timed grants where there's a closing date and time, and it's going to be managed like a tender process. We'll have a closing date and time. Everyone's going to get their submissions in, and then a marketing, an evaluation panel is set up to assess those submissions. Why should I pick you for this grant over someone else? What's so good about your proposal? So that's why, quite a solid, concrete, business plan outlining all those things is critical to getting you over the line. So business capacity. So like a tender, you're going to get asked questions of your skills and qualifications, your organisational structure, all your management systems, quality, safety, risk, and the like. So you can see there's a lot, for those that went to the session earlier, you can see a lot of similarities in the process. So, if you've got a good tender process in place for you to be able to find and write tender submissions, then a lot of that work, will help you in identifying and writing grant applications as well. So the more pre-planning that you do, as I mentioned, the better for you. So yeah, very, very similar approach there. Likewise with presentation and structure. A lot of the grants, they use online forms. They might have a word limit, so be mindful of that. And where there are word limits, being concise is important. You want to get your, might only be 1,000 words. You've got to get your message across within a limited word count. And again, using persuasive techniques, so your key messages are articulated well. Again, it's as much a marketing exercise as well. You're marketing the benefits of your project to the organisation. You're marketing your capacity to be able to deliver that project. Likewise, where you can, even though you've got, you might have text boxes on a screen that you need to fill out, you can include attachments. So some things might be better off in an attachment, a business plan and the like. So this is where you can include graphs and diagrams and photos and that, if that's of value to your organisation. So again, answer all the questions. If something's not applicable, write not applicable. Don't leave me guessing on what the answer is. And likewise, it may be someone that's unfamiliar with your industry and unfamiliar with you as a business. But again, it helps with that relationship building. There isn't the same level of, during a tender process, and again, it'll depend on the grant rules, but there may not be the requirement to, and it may be easier for you to have that one-on-one discussion with a grant funding body, particularly in the case where the grants are open all year round and you're not going through necessarily a competitive process. So yeah, and again, make it engaging enough for the assessor to want to read in full. So finalising your grant application, similar concepts, win themes, answering all the questions. You've built a strong case for funding to support. You've included the appropriate amount of information. It's easy to read. It's internally consistent and technically correct. And you've included all the information required. So, the last thing that you want, as a grant funding body, is to receive incomplete applications. And it's the last thing you want to do, because they're just not going to spend time on your application. So you've got to get it correct at the start. And that's why building that relationship and having their involvement, they won't do the application for you, but they'll make time to be able to, deal with any questions you have or clarifications and the like. So do build that relationship. Don't just send off your application cold. And then again, package and deliver. So as I said, some applications are like a tender where there's a due date and time. Others are all year round. But again, where you're not successful, seek feedback, because, there's going to be other grants come up in the future. So go through all that. And so that's really that process. Management systems, I mean, those that came this morning, you would have seen these slides, but again, it's the same principle around, demonstrating your organisational capacity. If you've got, you might have to include things about safety and environment and information security management and all that, depending on the nature of your project. So you've got to demonstrate that you've got, good systems and procedures in place to manage those sorts of things. And this will come out in your business plan as well, and with the questions that you're going to get answered. So So if you're already running your business consistent with these sort of standards, then that's going to stand you in good stead to be able to develop the same sort of systems and procedures for the particular project that you're working on. So, quality, environment, safety, information security, good governance. I mean, fraud and corruption control. So, they're going to give you a $500,000 grant. They're going to want to make sure that you know how to manage it properly. So, so they're going to do that due diligence on your ability to manage money. What happens if you do have to pay it back and it's all gone missing? What sort of financial trouble is that going to put your business in? What's it going to do to your reputation if you seriously mess up a grant application or funding or a grant and you've got to pay it back? There's that financial risk, there's reputational risk. So you've got to demonstrate. They're only going to give funding to companies that can demonstrate good management, not only in terms of the business, but the project as well. So risk management, so be clear as to the risks, business continuity, HR and financial policies and procedures. So internal controls to protect resources, physical, intangible, and cash and investments. So because you're going to need to account for this grant in your financial statements, so it becomes income. And then obviously the expenditure is on the goods and services that you need to deliver the project, payment of staff and other resources that you've included in there. So you do need to account for it. At the end of the project, you need to do an acquittal where they'll want you to assess the success of the project against the objectives and demonstrate that you've expended all the funding, because you'll have to give back any surplus, and demonstrate that it has actually benefited the agency that provided you with the funding. So in conclusion, takeaways from today. Go through those websites that I've provided you. Do some other, checks of that grant finder program. If you've come up with a lot of grants, go through that process of elimination and find grants that you might be interested in. Contact your local council to see what they can do for you, and if they've got any newsletters or anything, make sure you subscribe to that for business and their social media sites and the like. Review the grant information to determine whether you're grant ready. And if you're not grant ready, get yourself in a position to be. And, think strategically about grants. As I've said, there might be grants that you're available for now, and that's good. But there might be grants that you're not eligible for now, but you may become eligible for in a different stage of your business. So it's almost, if you've got a 3-year business plan, you might say, right, well, year 1, I can get these grants. Year 2, if I achieve this, I'll be able to get these grants. And then that'll help build my business into year 3. So you do things strategically and a bit more long-term, medium to long-term about it now. So build the relationship with the funding body, treat the application process as a project in itself, build your case for funding support so that match up with the funding body's priorities. Be particular about your presentation and structure. Develop your win themes, have in place robust management systems. Undertake a critical review of your submission and deliver it by the due date and time, if there is one. So that's pretty much my presentation for today. As I said, I know there's some similarities with the tender one, but the principles are the same. So I'll send you a copy of this document later today. Again, here's my contact details. So if you want a one-on-one advisory session in relation to a particular grant, happy to do that through the Business Station program. And look out for other workshops and webinars that I provide, which will be advertised through the Business Station website, and also take advantage of other business station advisors as well on social media and finance and IT and a whole range of business webinars and workshops and networking events and the like that you can take advantage of in WA, Queensland or Northern Territory. So thank you for that. I'll leave the, I'll open up the mic and the mics and if you've got any questions, fire away. Otherwise, I'll leave it open until 11:30. Otherwise, yeah, wish you well good afternoon for those of you over east. And as I said, I'll get these to you later on today.
Thank you so much, David. Again,
Yeah.
I appreciate the information. We will be in touch.
Okay, thanks for that.
Look after yourself. Bye.
Yeah.